We got a new fusion, but not everyone's excited. Some of the chats I'm in are saying this. So is the champion even worth it? Welcome back to the Vamp Shadow Legend YouTube channel. I'm Vamp, and today I'm going to react to Hellhades' video on the new Easter Fusion champion. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, the community is already divided, and some people are acting like they may not even go for this champion before his fusion's even released in the game. So we're going to look at his skills, evaluate his kit, give some commentary on Hellhades' feedback, and decide if this champion is as bad as people are saying he is.
Hey guys, this is Hellhades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've just had a new fusion information drop. Here it is. It's a rat. No, it's a rabbit. It is Razelvarg. Looking pretty cool. We're going to see a little video clip of him. This is what Raid do nowadays. Well done, Raid. Love seeing this stuff. What are we saying? It looks a bit like the Easter Bunny from Rise of the Guardians. Lady H is like, Rise of the Guardians. Like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. But before he gets turned into the puny one.
We got a little Hellhades ASMR there. I think it looks pretty cool. Not a whole lot else to say. No reason to overanalyze him, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's definitely neat that he has like maybe that Ursane Ironhide's head on it. Like we got a little civil war going on in this faction. That definitely looks like a skinwalker carrying the head of a skinwalker. But anyway, he looks pretty good.
One, you know, it looks quite a lot like him. Obviously, it's for Easter. So this is the Easter Fusion, which is coming next week. Okay, so I'm just going to go through what Raid have got to say, then I'll go through my opinion of this dude. So it says here, on Thursday the 13th of April, obviously next week.
It kind of looks like a wolf now, the head on his, still skinwalker-ish, but I don't know, it looks less like a bear now. Anyway.
We're doing a fusion event. Fusion means that there will be other champions in the mix. It's not going to be like a fragment collector. These are normally a little bit harder to collect. Generally, you have to collect 16 rares. The rares form into 4 epics, then the 4 epics become the legendary. You need things like potions ready to go to get the fusion. You need things like, or you need stuff like silver to be able to create the fusible champions. You have to level up the rares that you get to be able to ascend them and then get them up as well. So there's a bit more work involved. So bear that in mind if you're trying to prep to get this done. It's going to be a legend.
That's true. Hellhades is obviously an experienced Raid player, so he knows what he's talking about. He touched on most of it. You know, you get the rares. It's 4 per epic. They need to go to rank 4, level 40. They need to be fully ascended for that rank. And then the epics will need to be ranked up to 5-star level 50. And they will also need to be fully ascended for their rank. And then you can create the legendary. But the cool thing is that with the epics, sometimes there's a spicy epic thrown in there. Usually with the rares, they're not too impressive. But there have been fusions that people have decided to either forego the legendary or they just couldn't get the legendary based on, you know, the resources in their account. So they either settled for or sometimes opted over the legendary for one of the epics. So it can be a kind of an interesting dynamic, and it's definitely cool in the sense that it gives players that may look at it and go, well, damn, I don't have the resources to go for this legendary. This is crazy. But maybe they can get 1 epic. So maybe if it's 4 of the same epic, hopefully it's a good epic. At times they have done both. They've done 4 of the same epic and they've done 4 individual epics. And when it's individual, it really gets cool because usually there's 1 or 2 that are good and then 1 or 2 that are mediocre to bad. But sometimes people will just set their sights on getting 1 epic and it'll change their account. So anyway, it's definitely, there's layers compared to a fragment collector, but those layers also entail a ton more effort. You have to either be able to farm really effectively and be farming during the fusion, or you kind of have to stockpile resources for these things.
Legendary Skinwalker, magic affinity, attack-based champion. Razelvarg will be great for clearing some of the late game content, such as Hydra and hard mode dungeons. We will be the judge of that. And
yeah,
then they go
we will.
Kit a bit. Okay, so what do I think then? We've got Hopping Mad. A triple hit, A1. Each hit will fill this champion's turn meter. Okay. I mean, triple hit's always nice. It gives you a finite option, honestly, but you'd much rather, if you're thinking finite, you'd much rather drop the enemy's turn meter, or maybe every hit has got a 100% chance to freeze Raid. Raid, do you understand what you've done with hard mode finite? Do you get it yet? Right. Knight of the Rabbit.
One thing I'll call out too on the A1 skill, a 3-hitter A1 is going to be a Giant Slayer A1 for Clan Boss as well, for any account that may either get like a lot of damage boost out of this guy, or he could possibly be the first or second legendary on their account. While he's probably not going to be a Clan Boss specialist, that doesn't mean that some early game account couldn't use him over a mid-tier rare.
On a 4-turn, reduces to 3, attacks all enemies, books to 100% chance of placing Leech. Also heals this champion for 10% of their max HP for each Leech placed. So against a wave of 4 enemies, potentially you've just got a straight 100% of your HP heal. It's a little bit selfish, I'll be honest. Razelvarg, don't fancy giving any of your allies any of that juicy heal. So far, feeling pretty selfish. Just filling your own turn meter, just healing yourself. Come on, fella. Spread the love. Keep up if you can.
That A2, though, that's a nice skill because Leech may be a bit of a controversial debuff. I think it's really damn good, especially against bosses or really tanky late game, end game type of hard, dungeon waves. The mobs have 6 trillion HP, but it's also really cool that just the act of him placing those debuffs, even if you're in a fight where you don't need to utilize AoE Leech, is going to give him a huge heal. So that helps an attack champion, those are usually pretty fragile, to kind of gain a lot of survivability. It's definitely different than him being tanky, but it is survivability. He's able to self-heal, potentially a really big heal just by placing one debuff on an AoE. That's very interesting. It's kind of like taking Leech and making the effect of him placing the Leech have another benefit that's really damn good. For some accounts, better than the AoE Leech.
And on the A3, so this is on a 3-turn cooldown again if booked. AoE places increased speed on your team and increased accuracy, a bit like what Claude does right now, on 2 turns before attacking. So he's got 2 AoE hits, 1 giving Leech, 1 giving buffs for your team. This is quite nice. So if you're an earlier game player, these 2 buffs, increase speed, increase accuracy, massively reduce the need for stats on your team. Also makes it viable for some of the late game Doom Tower stuff like that, where getting to those accuracy numbers is actually really hard to do. And he's got this passive here, built for speed. So increased speed. Sorry, each increased speed buff that you place increases this dude's speed by 5, stacks up to 100. Each increased speed buff placed by this champion increases their speed by 5. So I'm guessing he increases all of your team's speed by 5 each time he uses his A3.
I'm not reading it like that. That's what these announcement reactions are, both his and mine. We're trying to interpret, and Plarium is kind of known for wording things poorly or leaving out a condition or a term for these passives, but that feels like pretty clear to me that it's referring back to this champion, to Razelvarg, I guess is his name, that he will place increased speed buffs, which he places on everyone, and each time he does it will boost his speed by 5. I don't read it as an AoE speed boost. That seems incredibly broken to me. If that's how they release it, barring them nerfing it 2 weeks after everybody gets this champion, I'll take it, but it seems really, really out of balance in a good way, like too good. But I didn't want to pause it because he kind of segued right into the passive, but the A3 is awesome. That's a very interesting skill to me because if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I think the only 2 champions in the game that have a skill, and his is an attack, that buffs 30% increased speed and 50% increased accuracy on the same ability, I guess I just said that, are Lady Kimmy and Claude Beastfeeder. Claude Beastfeeder is a decent champion. Lady Kimmy's much better, but that's just kind of a rare skill to do both of those things, and they're really, really, really good things in the game right now. Getting increased speed is maybe more vital than it's ever been, and getting increased accuracy is really, really nice as well for things like Iron Twins, maybe Sand Devil, depending on what kind of team you're running there, high-level Hydra, and even maybe high-level Doom Tower. Probably a lot of late-game players have worked out Doom Tower by now, but this could be like very interesting for people who are progressing in Hydra, for example, or who are really struggling to farm a high stage of Iron Twins where you need a shit ton of accuracy, and maybe they are struggling to get more than one champion in the accuracy threshold needed to compete against that boss. So that's very intriguing to me. If it happens to smack, because he is an attack champion, so assuming he's going to be a nuker, he has 2 AoEs, that wow, imagine having a nuke where you double buff. It's a little bit like Ragash almost, except Ragash has debuffs as well. But to put a double buff on yourself and smack at the same time on the same skill seems like that could be really, really good. And this passive, I'll just comment on this while I'm here. That seems wicked good. That seems like if you get him to 100 more speed, you can take a champion, let's just say is moderately geared. I think a lot of late game and end game players can get an attack champion that they emphasize speed on to 240 pretty damn easily. Give him the turns required, and you could bring a reset champion to get this to 100, and he's now going 340 speed, and he has the damage stats that you were able to build onto a much, much lower speed, and he's got double AoEs. He's just cranking out AoE, 3-turn cooldown, AoE, 3-turn cooldown, A1. So he's going A3, A2, A1, A3, A2, A1. He's going to be lapping people. You're going to have increased speed and increased accuracy on your team 24/7 once you get his speed accelerated a little bit without even having a buff extender. Like, this has the potential to be broken good, to borrow Hell Hades' catchphrase. Let's keep watching.
Stacks up to 100. So if he does this 20 times, everybody is going to have 100 more speed. Wow.
We'll
that's nuts, by the way. That's actually a nuts ability. So that means he's going to have 60 turns to get that max stack. The only possible place I could see that ever happening is Hydra. It means that you can't really.
But the max stack is insane. It's 100 speed. So this will have utility for him and give him this cool speed passive, even if he only gets to a third of it. I mean, just 30 free speed is crazy. It's crazy. Having a nuker with 240 speed that is now running 270 speed could be kind of devastating.
Really speed tune anything because
no,
your speed
I agree
is
with
variably increasing, as you go. But it's kind of cool.
Although there are some players in the game, I think, that are smart enough to figure out a way to speed tune this guy.
I don't particularly agree with them saying, it's going to be great for clearing a lot of late game content, hard mode dungeons. You certainly are not going to scale this quick enough. I wonder if it scales through the rounds, though, actually. If it scales through the rounds and then you get to the final round and it's still there for the boss, that's interesting because the extra speed that you've gained would be pretty nuts. But it does mean that you're not speed tuning, you're just speed gaining. Mm-hmm. That's not always the best thing to do. Mm-hmm. And we've learned that over the years, that sometimes a specific speed is much better than just throw more speed at it.
My interpretation of this is that it does carry through the rounds. I'm reading this as it does carry across rounds through an entire battle.
So not necessarily the best thing to do, but certainly an interesting thing to do. And he's got speed in all battles by 20% on an aura as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah, decent aura.
I don't know, guys. I don't think he's going to be like you must get this champion. He is going to change the world, all that type of stuff. But definitely interesting, especially that an increased speed buff scales off your overall total speed. So as you're going faster and faster, you get more and more value from that increased speed buff. I don't know, guys. I'm a bit torn on this one. Certainly it's going to be harder to get.
I did not even think about that. I honestly don't remember if I knew. What did I just say there? I don't remember knowing that the 30% increased speed is off of your champion's total speed, because I think some of these buffs are based off of your base stat. Not sure about that. Actually, I probably need to find that out. But given that he's pointed it out, it resonated with me that if this champion, going back to the numbers I used before, once he's going 340, he's getting 30% of that speed. He's going to be torching enemies. He's going to be screaming fast. I don't even know if I can comprehend what we could use this champion for fully. There's got to be a way to calculate predictably where his speed is going to be when. I don't know. I kind of need to process this guy. This is an interesting champion.
Which means that more work, all that type of stuff. I can't wait to see what the epics are in the mix as well, and perhaps the rare, see if they're any good.
Me too.
But he's pretty niche. Will he be used a lot? Who knows, honestly? I don't know the answer. I could certainly see someone picking him up and doing some crazy stuff with him on Hydra, at least. At least. I wish there was like another debuff here alongside the Leech to just give him a bit more utility for Hydra. Like if he had
That's fair.
Some sort of block buffs in the mix, if he had
a
decreased enemy speed in the mix. It's just something else
Those would both be insane. Like, just their presence on a 3-turn cooldown AoE attack would bring him up multiple tiers, at least in people's initial evaluation of him.
Then I think we would just see a lot more value. But as it is, I don't know. He feels a little bit one-dimensional. It's just like, yeah,
I can see that.
What are you going to do with me? It's like
but
putting
super quick
in as your striker. Yeah, he's quick. Doesn't mean he can shoot, right? I know that he was a soccer player, by the way, a footballer for a little while, so I do know about that. Anyway, I don't know, guys. What do you reckon? Comment below. I'm a little bit torn on this one. Let me know your thoughts. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.
There you go, guys. That's the reaction. I guess a couple closing comments from me are, I hear him on the A too. It would be nice, given that some people kind of hate on Leech, some people find very little utility. It would be insane if that champion had AoE block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. It would also be maybe slightly less insane, but really, really good if it was AoE decreased speed alongside the AoE Leech. But as it is, I feel like the first thing I'll say is that I play this game to collect the champions. I have champions in my locker that I kind of like, some of which maybe I've built, that sometimes it's a crapshoot and you build them and you're like, it's kind of disappointing. Sometimes they're better than expected. But I'm not only interested in meta champions, and I know there are other raid players out there like me that enjoy the champion collecting side of the game. It's a collection game. Like, even if you kind of only have the gear to build a handful of champions, so you maybe pick your strongest or your most meta, it's still fun to have these champions to see, in the patch notes whenever one of the champions that you own gets buffed, or if there's new content, you find out this champion that you never really could find a job for is SSS tier in that new content. That's a fun aspect of the game for some people, but you get to play the game the way you want. So if you think he's trash, you don't want to get him, that's fine. For me, I like collecting, and I also happen to not think he's trash. I think that the A3 buffs are awesome, very useful. Does that make him as a champion super versatile? No, it does not. It's cool to have them on an attack champion, but I also feel like that there are times, based on the way I personally play the game, where I'm looking for a champion and I really want them to have one of these buffs or both of these buffs, and to have them on one skill is very helpful. Generally, Leech is helpful. And then I guess the last thing I'll say is that passive is, I think, sneaky good. Not only do I think it's sneaky good, I think that's the kind of passive that people will wish they had not foregone this champion later whenever they see what this champion can do, because a lot of us that play raid and enjoy the game, we don't have the time to spend as much time and effort theory crafting and testing. So it could be that a week after this champion is summoned by everybody, somebody figures out that he's mentally broken in this one area because they've gotten to play test him. Like, please guys, don't forget, this champion has not been play tested. We don't even know if he hits hard. I assume as an attack champion released in 2023, he's going to hit pretty hard, but he could hit dumb hard. And even if he doesn't, let's see what the playtest looks like with his speed scaling, with the fact that he does buffing and debuffing in his kit, and with the fact that he's going to be blistering fast. He's going to enable something. I just have this suspicion, this gut instinct, that this champion is going to be like a jigsaw puzzle piece, a missing link to some specific job. And like Hell Hades said, he does seem niche, but just remember, he has not been play tested. There are people that have hated on numerous fusions that are now considered incredibly good, or up there with the best in the game, and it's difficult sometimes on paper to tell how good the champion is. That's part of what happens when they release these fusions. The thing that's in the back of my head is that this is an incredibly unique passive. This is a one-of-a-kind passive that no other champion has anything like it, really not even close. So the potential is there, which is why I say let's let some people who have the time theory craft and test this guy before we say he's not good. I feel like you got to grab a champion with this passive. I really do. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, God damn it, you know what to do. And if you want to see this kind of content, if you want to see reactions, if you want to see me covering raid news, if you want to see guides later on, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to keep bringing you guys top tier content, and I'm going to be covering content that will be useful for a variety of players. And sometimes it's just going to be good old fashioned entertainment. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you to everyone who watched at the end of the video. I hope I made it worth your click. I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy raiding.